Texas Tech quarterback Brendan Sorsby has taken a leave of absence due to gambling addiction, and in January, 20 college basketball players were charged due to a gambling ring. The truth is, it is much bigger than Brendan Sorsby, and it has been happening for years. Currently, 1/3 of US adults have participated in gambling before the age of 21. But exactly how did we get here, and how did this get beyond sports? Because with prediction markets like Kalshi and Polymarket, you can even make money on whether an event is going to happen, like what has happened in Iran and how one US official made over $400,000 on when Nicolas Maduro was going to get captured using insider info. Let's go ahead and break it down, starting with the year 2018, because that is where most people make the first mistake. 2018 is when the Supreme Court overturned the federal ban on gambling. However, this entire thing starts years before. It starts with fantasy sports. That was the gateway drug. That's the thing that got most of us familiar with gambling, first on sports and then on everything else. How exactly did this occur? If you are watching this video, I am sure you know what fantasy sports are. I'm going to do a quick explainer for the few people who might not. Essentially, you get to draft or pick actual players from several teams to be on your team. What they do in real life, in the actual game, in the actual event, equate to a score on your roster. That's it. The good thing about it is you are more of a participant in it. You pay more attention. I didn't know who the third string running back was for the Chargers until I started playing around with fantasy sports. Now in the 2010s, this became a lot more popular as DraftKings and FanDuel became bigger, more household names. And then they introduced what was called daily fantasy, because with daily fantasy there was a catch. They call these things games of skill, where you will be able to make money based on how you calibrated your roster on that day, and you can make money again based on your skill in assembling that roster and how good you were on it. The other part of it was based on the data that they had. How many points would those players score based on who was injured and who was in and who was out? You had to really pay attention to how good people were, or those players were, and how well you were in tune with what was happening with those teams and assembling that roster yourself. You became the general manager and you were more in the driver's seat of your fictional team. People were really into this, and because of that loophole of calling it a game of skill, meaning you were in control of it, it meant that it was not gambling, which allowed these companies to continue to operate. More importantly, allow these companies to continue to lobby. That is what gets us to 2018. That is what gets us to lift the federal ban. Then these companies went state by state to get their apps and their services legalized. And that brings us to where we are today, where I can't name the state where it ain't legalized at this point in time. However, there has been a major change in the last 4 to 5 years. And one thing that you have noticed, and then one thing you have not noticed about gambling. Number one, the thing you probably have noticed, everybody has some gambling partnership. Colin Cowherd interrupts his show on YouTube to tell you about BetMGM. You've got On3 that has the logos in the background. You've got Josh Pate with his thing. Everybody has some sort of partner. I can't think of one that doesn't have at least something at the bottom of the screen, something in the background telling you about how you should be gambling at all times. You have seen that even ESPN has a gambling partnership. They had ESPN Bet at one point in time. I've even covered that when they launched it. However, the explosion doesn't cover why it has expanded into places like CNN. This is because all of this is happening at the exact same time that people are continuing to cut the cord. It is gambling partnerships that is supplementing that level of revenue. These things are happening at the same time, where networks and conferences are starving for money because they're trying to pay players, and they should. They are looking for more money, where companies like ESPN and CNN are losing revenue because people are deciding to do YouTube TV instead, or deciding to do any other streaming service instead of paying for an entire bundle. They're looking for their revenue, and that is where they are getting it from. And essentially that means they are getting it from you, and they're getting it from you losing money, because that is the only way that these companies can be profitable, especially the gambling partnerships more specifically, is by you losing money. It is a zero-sum game, and we know from a company like CNN had been losing viewership due to cord cutting for a number of years. And as I said with fantasy sports, what is a way that would get you to watch CNN or any news program a whole lot more? If I bet on how many words or how many phrases the president was going to say during a 2-hour speech, or I would be glued if I had to tune in to CNBC to see exactly what the Fed chair was going to say. Those are the things that are going to keep you glued on the TV because of that partnership. And it's also going to make them more money because they can sell more ads, because they know that you are going to stay glued on the channel. They know that you are going to continue betting, and they know their advertisers know that you are now glued to the TV as well. What no one is going to tell you though from this entire ordeal is this: gambling is not entertainment. It's not. At least it shouldn't. From a financial planner's perspective, I don't see that as entertainment. I know that when I walk in a casino, it is a trap for you to lose money. I don't gamble. I don't find the allure in losing money. I do not find it exciting. I do not find it fun to lose money. That's just not me. Okay, I don't day trade either, right? Whether I can make money or not, it's just, I look at the statistics and I see there is a less than 50% chance I would lose money. I look at statistics for those who hold a stock for 1 year or more, and those are a lot higher. We're talking 79% or more. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna be a long-term investor. That's what I'm gonna do, right? I see what happens when people invest in index funds versus buying and selling every other day. I'm going to go with the statistics, but more importantly though, I'm looking in a casino, there are no clocks. Right, I'm looking at the casino floor and I see all the confusing patterns. I hear all the noises, and it is done on purpose to keep you there so you lose track of time. When I look at these gambling apps and how they were devised, how the notifications look, how the emails look, why they are designed where you continue scrolling, especially on a lot of social media apps, and there is no end to it, that is to keep you hooked, to get you addicted, to keep you on the platform for as long as possible. Why is it that these bets are set at the way that they are? There aren't many times where it's like, hey, spend $500, $600, $700 at a time. No. In many cases, they're usually micro bets, right? $1 here, $5 here, 20 cents here. Those are usually done so you can spend small amounts of money so you do not see exactly how much it adds up to. That is done through design. There are teams set in a room to design those things. I went to business school, man. I know exactly how those people think. Those were design choices. That's not a game that I'm going to be entertained by, and that's not one that I will want my clients to willingly participate in, at least blindly. Now you do what you want to do. Now we can have a one-on-one conversation at buildabread.com/callkev, and I can help evaluate your financial situation. But in either case, that's not what I find fun and exciting. I can go and watch a movie if I want to do that. I can go play video games if I want to do that. There's a whole bunch of other stuff I can go and get entertainment from. And to be fair and frank, I said this on the Charles Schwab Network, I don't look for the stock market for entertainment either. I'm not sitting here looking at charts and looking at CNBC for entertainment either. Again, that's why I don't day trade. I look at if you watch this channel, which you should go ahead and hit subscribe right now, I don't look at my accounts but twice per year. I don't make moves to my investments except for twice per year, because I'm not trying to be entertained by this, because I'm not looking for the stock market for entertainment. That is not what it is here to do, and it has worked for me. I got to sit out with all the tariffs and all the Iran stuff. The market was at an all-time high as of today because I didn't have to look for it for entertainment, watch myself lose money, and panic because of it. Those processes work, and they work for a reason. But when things are designed and they're not in your favor, you will lose in the long term the vast majority of the time, and it is designed for you to do that. And I would advise the vast majority of people probably isn't a place for you to be. But hey, unless we set up a call and we talk one-on-one, I wouldn't know exactly what your specific finances are, but that can change if you decide to click the link below and we can talk one-on-one. But if you want to learn more about personal finance and everything in between, you can check out this video right here.